Kon Hakaze is a kid playing his favorite MMORPG when something out of the ordinary happens to him. The young man is approached by a female player named Flora, and in-game, she wishes to get to know him better. Being an introvert makes Kon quite ecstatic about this interaction with a female. Kon is convinced that he finally got himself a girlfriend when Flora asks them to do her a favor. Kon's manly nature is unable to refuse this request, and as he accepts Flora's request out of generosity, in a completely different world, we see a small group being chased by some troops. The group being chased belonged to a little princess, and when the situation was looking bad for her, out of nowhere, Kon finds himself in the middle of this struggle. Kon falls down of the sky in his chair and knocks the enemy lieutenant out, doing the princess a favor. The princess decides to take Kon along with her, and after they reach a safe spot, she explains the situation to Kon. The princess's name was Icarlet, and she was running away with her companions Marianne and Saint Glain from her Saint-Pyria Empire. Not knowing anything about this world, Kon chooses to tag along with the princess, but his journey gets quite a bad start when Kon finds out about how Marianne is actually a guy. The journey continues regardless, and elsewhere, the lieutenant who Kon knocked out heads back to report the situation to his leader, Erekpile, and he starts planning to get revenge. Back to Kon, the princess was taking Kon to a town nearby, and on the way, she tells him how she is 8 years old and is running away to avoid problems in her arranged marriage. Kon couldn't believe any of these facts, and as the group is shopping for some stuff afterwards, they are attacked by Erek's men. Kon runs around and hides away with Icarlet for a while, but in the end, Marianne and Saint Glain are defeated and Kon was the only one left to defend the princess. Despite being horrible in fighting, Kon still wins at the end by kicking Erek in the groin, and even though this act was a bit too cowardly, Icarlet appreciates the effort and signs Kon as her knight when the group continues its journey. Kon's genius kick had sent Erek to the hospital, where he woke up to the news that half of his manhood had to be removed. This imbalance shakes Erek up and he swears vengeance upon Kon. Out in the town, Kon was ranting about how he doesn't want to help Icarlet when he runs out to test an Almagear sword that they found earlier from Erek. The sword wasn't really doing anything for Kon when Icarlet approached him and took him away to sincerely request Kon's assistance. Kon isn't able to decline after seeing how badly Icarlet wants to marry someone named Jabba, and around the same time, Erek gathers his army to launch an attack on the same town. Erek had pulled up to fight in a literal tank, so Kon had no choice but to stand his ground. Luckily for Kon, Erek's horrible control over the machine caused them to miss shots and destroy the city, and this was the chance that Kon needed to get close. Kon's sword somehow starts working, but the guy has to reset it a little after he slips during his charge. Kon's sword turns into a hammer and he uses it to destroy Erek's tank, forcing him to do a fair duel. Erek was a far better fighter, but his imbalance makes him miss his physical attacks as well. Kon pounces on the chance and seals the deal with a direct hammer strike, of course, to Erek's groin. Erek had to be taken back in a stretcher this time, and the rest of his army retreated for the time being. Kon officially accepts to be a part of Icarlet's group, and before they set off on the journey again, Icarlet mentions how the capital they're moving towards might have the means Kon needs to return to his original world. After the incident involving Erek had concluded, an unknown woman is seen to be sending a blue animal on some mission. Erek wakes up at the hospital for a second time, and when the doctor reveals how his second half is also missing now, the poor guy's soul leaves his body. Kon was on his journey with the princess and her companions when on the way, they came across the same animal from before. Everyone else adores the cute animal, but Kon gets heated for some reason and forces the rest of the group to move on with their journey. Erek's troops reveal how he has taken a leave from his post for a good few days, and back at the inn, Kon looks to be concerned about the animal at night. The guy was feeling bad about the poor thing, but he gets mad once again when he finds the animal in his room after waking up. Kon starts a whole commotion, and seeing him so desperate makes the rest of the group concerned. As others wanted to keep the beast alongside them on their journey, the group decided to do simple voting for the final decision. Since Khan was the only one getting all hot and bothered, the decision came in favor of the little guy, and Khan accepted to go with the flow, at least on the surface. Khan immediately started to make up wicked plans for taking the animal out by any means possible, but he got stopped by the rest of the group and had to talk things out. After fooling around for a while, Khan finally explains that the reason he doesn't like pets is because of his allergy to them. Khan further makes the scene all emotional by telling a story from his childhood and reveals that since pets generally never liked him, he swore to hate them from a young age as well. As stupid as it sounded, Khan was quite firm on his beliefs, and despite the others telling him to shut up, Khan still picks a fight with the pet, only to face a humiliating defeat. Khan's defeat makes the animal a part of the crew, and elsewhere, we see how Irek is possibly coming back into action. With the inclusion of their new friend, the princess's party sits down to relax for a while on their journey, and while Khan was busy running around with his furry friend, the rest of the group figured that they should give their new friend a proper name. The princess was quite horrible with names and wanted to name the beast as if it was a dragon. Khan is the one who puts a stop to this nonsense in the end, and he gives the animal the perfect name, Pet. Yes, Pet, that's it. Anyways, we move back to Irek and find him moving to his family estate with Lieutenant Variation. The guys were going back to take some time off of work, and upon their arrival, they were greeted by Irek's beautiful fiancée, Emilia. Emilia had come here from her own place just to help Irek out with his injury, but as Irek was too ashamed to explain what exactly he was missing, he found it best to dodge the question. Emilia finds it weird when Irek continues to avoid her questions regarding his injury, and this makes her quite concerned. Irek's place is visited by his relatives from the Daskas family named Limpus and Gabriella. On the surface, it seemed as if the relatives were just there to catch up with Irek, but it turns out that they had been plotting some evil schemes. Limpus wanted Gabriella to seduce Irek, but when that didn't work, Limpus challenged Irek to a duel after threatening to make a scandal and destroying Irek's reputation. Irek was courageous enough to fight even in his injured state, and after he clearly won the duel fair and square, Limpus chose to play dirty and kicked Irek, you guessed it, in the groin. Limpus landed a solid blow, but since Irek had nothing to lose at this point, he just stood there and knocked Limpus out. Such a performance by Irek left a mark on his peers, and the lieutenant acknowledged them as the Full Metal Balchemist. With the Daskas out of the way, Irek finally decided to move on with his journey, and he said goodbye to Emilia to head towards the Tamatsukure hot springs next. Khan was also sticking with the rest of the group on foot, but now, as things were a little rough, the poor guy started contemplating his life as to whether he made the right decision to become Icarlet's knight or not. The princess calls Khan out on his childish behavior, but our guy switches up real quick when the group arrives at a lively beach. Khan finally thought that the good times had arrived in his life, but soon he gets depressed after realizing that he is the only one who has nothing going for him in the whole group. Khan is sitting alone despite being the protagonist, and that, for some reason, makes him wonder about Marianne's transsexuality. Naturally, Khan asks the other two about this, and they start revealing Marianne's backstory, as how he used to be the heir of a martial arts sect who left his family when his father died. The princess adds how Marianne was saved by a girl with the original name Marianne, and after she passed away, Marianne took her name to remember her for the rest of his life. Khan sort of understood the story, but he still was having a hard time sleeping. The guy somehow falls asleep that night, but on the next day, comes to know that the story from yesterday was just made up by the others to pick on him, making the poor guy depressed even more. As our party was quite close to reaching the capital, the people from Olga sorority, who were after Icarlet's life, had started to get anxious. After Irek had failed to get the job done multiple times, these people decide to get things done by any means possible, and in the end assign a criminal named George for a planned assassination. Princess's party makes it to another town where Khan gets to know that he needs to reach Olivia after making it to the capital for having a chance at reaching his original world. The group was finally relaxing for a bit when Marianne runs in and reveals a huge problem with the princess. Both Marianne and Saint Glain start panicking after seeing a cowlick appear on Icarlet's head, and as Khan wasn't able to get any of it, they reveal that the princess is in her hyperactive phase, and that they should do as she says. Marianne and Saint Glain rent the whole inn out, and start preparing food for the princess like crazy. After a while of this, Khan started finding such reactions dumb, and he tries to prove that nothing was wrong with Icarlet. The other two were not interested in listening to Khan's opinion, and while they were busy, George arrived for his assassination mission at night. George was quite optimistic at first, but he gets terrified after getting beaten up by Icarlet's bodyguards. George runs into Khan in the restroom and tries to explain how the princess had grown a third cowlick by now. Khan finds it stupid and decides to check for himself, only to get attacked by a raging princess that night. With Khan learning a lesson, the Olga sorority's assassination attempt ended as a failure, and the event traumatized George to the point that even years later, he kept telling the story of the three-haired monster for the sake of scaring children. Our group's next stop was the Tamatsukure, or the ball-making hot springs, the same place where Irek was headed to. These hot springs were famous for their healing powers related to one's libido, and our group decided to make full use of this opportunity to relax a little. Khan was having a nice time as well, but the effect of the hot spring was too great on his body. The guy was already ashamed of himself for getting all hot and bothered when Irek arrived at the hot springs to make matters even worse. Khan spent the whole day avoiding Irek, and at night, when he finally went to bed, his body started glowing extremely brightly. Saint Glain confronts Khan about this matter and convinces him into having another dip in the hot springs if he doesn't want to make life even more awkward for himself. As soon as Khan gets into the water at night, his body gets back to normal, but he runs into Irek there, leading the two of them to have another duel. The guys agreed on preparing first, but Khan just couldn't help himself from landing a cheap shot. With Irek down again, Khan gathers the others to leave the town in the middle of the night, with him leading the rest while illuminating the way with his glowing body. A week passed by after Khan's body had started glowing for the first time, and even now, Khan was still unable to turn his shine off. As the group had to travel one way or the other, they covered Khan up to hide his glow. The group stops at a nearby small village to grab some food, and since Khan couldn't really eat anything due to all that covering, he gets desperate and reveals his secret. A few villagers notice this glow, and by the time our party decides to leave, Khan is surrounded by a big crowd. The villagers mistake Khan as an otherworldly power, and he plays along with them for the time being, becoming Kompika-sama. A lot of people were already convinced of Khan having powers, but the rest put him on the spot and asked them to perform something otherworldly. Khan just wings it, and to his luck, a lot of butterflies are attracted towards his glow, making the crowd go crazy. The whole village now accepts Khan as their ruler, and as his following grows, he gets his hands on the most luxurious of lifestyles. Icarlet reminds Khan that they were on a mission and that they need to move. Khan understands her words, but while the group was trying to escape, they had to change plans due to the overwhelming number of Khan's followers waiting outside, ready to wage war against Olga sorority. Doing so was not possible for Khan, so he planned to improve the village, and after a temple is made for his name, he plays a slick trick to escape through a hot air balloon. Mid-air, Khan's glow does turn off as he was out of Alma energy, but that makes things even more hectic for our lively group. Elsewhere, Irek had sort of recovered by this time, and when he was ready to make a comeback against DT in Saint Pyria Empire, the guy is approached by the same woman who sent Pet towards Khan named Alma Flora. The news of Irek's return reaches his subordinates, and since Irek usually took a single right-hand man with him on the missions, these four dudes get into an argument about who's better. Khan's party was resting in their rooms around this time, and while they were being monitored by Pet, the four subordinates sat down at a bar to have a debate. The dudes started going one by one, and all of them explained how they have done things that make them better than the others. All of these guys were quite proud of their accomplishments, and while they were still arguing, Flora took Irek to an Alma shop and gave him some Alma gear to complete his mission. Flora mentioned that she will be monitoring Irek, and our subordinates decided to settle the problem like actual men. The four go over to the mountains for monster hunting, but things go wrong when an unexpectedly huge monster pops in front of them. All four of them were no match for the monster, but before things could have gone wrong for them, Irek pulls up and saves them with his new sword. Irek makes the return official, and instead of choosing one, he signs all four of these guys to follow him in his mission of defeating the Saint Pyria Empire. Quite some time had passed ever since Khan got teleported to this world, and now he started getting homesick. Khan's journey was going just fine with Icarlet's group, but time took a toll on his head and he started missing things like video games, junk food, comics, and even watching anime. The craving to return to his anti-social gamer life was so strong that it kept Khan up the whole night. The others realized that Khan was entering depression when he made a controller from wood and started imitating as if he was playing video games. The rest got worried for the guy and decided to fix him in their own ways. Marianne made Khan some burgers from Smackdonald's just like he asked, but Khan only enjoyed it until he realized what the ingredients were. The picture book Icarlet got Khan didn't work either, so St. Glain took the guy to an underground MMA tournament since he wanted to play some action games. Khan was forced to participate and he barely escaped that maniac with a chainsaw inside the cage. At the end of the day, these life-threatening events did fix Khan's homesickness, but things were not all that good ahead of him as the Olga sorority was still out there on the party's trail. And that brings us to the end of today's recap. Thanks for sticking till the end, and let us know in the comments if you guys want a second part of this series. Don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.